Used to work in Chicago, the old department store. Used to work in Chicago, don't work there anymore. Oh, hey, well, since you're here, Bryan Ray with America's Rugby News. Why don't we talk a little bit about the Windy City? A brand new team to Major League Rugby in 2023, the Chicago Hounds. And, I hope I'm not, confusing any ATL fans out there. If you could just be so kind as to send Chicago's colors back to them, we'd greatly appreciate it. I digress. Chicago finally getting an MLR team. They were supposed to have one in the very first season back in 2018, but they dropped out, so we've had to wait all this time. Finally, here we are, and rugby headed to the city with really great tradition of domestic rugby in the city, and they're going to be playing at this great SeatGeek Stadium. Really excited to see them on that pitch when they get there. Once not too long now. So obviously we don't have players to peel away from last season because there was no last season. So we're just going to throw up the roster that they have right now. Of course, the bulk of these guys getting picked up in the dispersal draft, a lot of them coming from Austin and LA, as we will see. So let's just go through the roster now and see who they've got. And we'll start at loosehead prop. Really one of their new announcements, George Thornton, a Scotland under-20 international, big, huge guy, a splitting image for Aaron Mitchell, by the way. Check it out, really, it's a little bit eerie. Really big guy. He'd been playing over in England with Wasps. He spent a little bit of time with Glasgow Warriors. Most recently, he was playing in the Shoot Shield and was getting eyed actually for a Super Rugby contract, but import, his import status again kind of hampered him from getting out. They got pretty tight quotas down there, but so a big pickup for Chicago there at loosehead. Really big guy, strong runner with ball in hand, should be pretty handy. Larome White, versatile prop, can play tight and loosehead. We're going to throw him over here at loosehead for the time being. He was with Austin last season. And Timmy Olwain coming over from the Dallas Jackals, earning his spot on the roster. And over on the tight head side, Charlie Horse, Charlie Abel, this rambunctious tight head coming over from LA. He can also play on the loosehead side, but he'll be a tight head mostly with Chicago. Paddy Ryan, a U.S. version. Born in Chicago, of course, so it's appropriate that he's going to be playing there, coming over from San Diego. And Mika Felix, who was over training with Austin, but never actually saw the field with them, toured with the USA Falcons to Montevideo. Young guy coming out of New Zealand. He was playing with Sydenham down there. At hooker, Hugh Roach coming in from Austin. A very mobile Australian. Great pickup there. Lindsay Stevens coming in from LA. This new Canadian international. Slot him in there. And Mason Cook also making the trip from Austin. Of course, all these Austin guys joining their former coach, now coach again, Sam Harris. So that's certainly a point of continuity for this new team, which is interesting. Second row, Luke White. Of course, coming in from LA, formerly the captain of the Glendale and Colorado Raptors. I guess he was just the captain while they were Colorado, but anyways, certainly a leader. He'll be a leader in this forward pack. Duke Krishnan, a really interesting signing, the first Malaysian international ever in MLR. Great big guy, about 6'6", and really used to be as fast as a winger. Getting on a little bit in age now, about 34, but I'm sure he'll still be very mobile, quite handy. He's been tearing up trees in Japan for a while. Sam Perry coming in from the LA Guillotines. Didn't play a whole lot there. 6'6". He was a high school All-American. Played a little bit with San Diego back in his 2018. So kind of a long hiatus away from MLR before last season. So Mike Matarazzo is coming over from Dallas. I'm a little surprised by that move. He was a starter last season, and I'm sure he would have been a starter there this season. But hey, maybe he wants to just move a little bit closer to home. He is from New York, so we can put him at second row. We can put him at 6. We'll just put him at number 6 for now, but not necessarily going to be starting there. Luke Beecham coming in. He's just been named vice captain too, so we should probably slide Matarazzo down and put Beecham in there. He was playing with Austin last year, formerly captain of Houston. McLean Jones, open side flanker, Australian, coming in. Beecham also Australian, by the way. He'll be US eligible next year. For the time being, he is an import. McLean Jones, open side flanker from Austin, played with the Australia U20s a few years back. Dakota Worth coming over from Old Glory, DC. And Michael Duvall, US eligible South African, coming in from Austin. Stick him at number 8. You can play across the back row. Personally, I prefer him at flanker, but probably going to be mostly number 8 on this team. Now, over at scrum half, we've got Michael Baska, this Eagles international returning from France, and Sean Yakubian. He's had a lot of injury problems. He was with New England the past couple of years, former Scotland under 20 select, but then a USA Falcons representative as well, so he is US eligible. And Sid Shoup, a high school All-American who was with Austin last year. Luke Carty, US Eagles international at fly half. And then the midfield, our captain, Bryce Campbell, the very first signing for the club, appropriately also the captain, so he'll be Chicago Hound number 1. Billy Meeks coming in from the LA Giltinis, a very handy signing. He's been one of the best centers in MLR, if not the best, for the past 2 years. Mark O'Keefe, also, up there among the very best. Of course, he paired with Campbell at Austin last year, so that's 3 tremendous centers that they've got anyways. Let's skip over to fullback. We've got Chris Matina coming in from Austin. He was in the Eagles squad for the repechage, but didn't quite get a cap yet. JP Eloff, a former Eagle, coming in from NOLA Gold. Of course, he can also play center, can also play fly half. Matina could also play fly half if you need him to. On the wing, Caleb Strum coming in from Austin. Doesn't have a lot of experience, only played a couple games last year. And this newcomer, Kevin Morgan, don't really know a whole lot about him, but he's a new signing coming in on the wing. And we've got a gap here. Who's coming in? Well, Julian Dominguez, the Argentine, a tremendous try scorer with Austin, and before that with New Orleans. I don't think he's actually been announced by Chicago yet, but his visa clearance has just come in. He is going to be joining the team, so maybe that's breaking news for you. So if you're like me and you're looking at this, you're going, where's the rest of the team? Like, there are a lot of shortages here. Only 3 second rows. If you put Matarazzo, that makes 4. But then you only got 4 loose forwards. I mean, we're barely putting together a match day 23 out of this, right? There's got to be more bodies, right? Well, not really at the moment. They've got a few guys training with them, so we're going to just fill it up a little bit, just with a couple more names. Tinashe Muchena, he was drafted by Houston, former Lindenwood number 8, Zimbabwean age grade international, but he's now US eligible. He's on a training contract at the moment. I can't see how they're going to get through the season without playing him, though, so we're going to stick him in there. He's a genuine number 8, and could turn out to be pretty handy. And we're going to stick Jack Russell on the wing, another guy in a training contract right now. Again, I think they'll probably need him at some point. He was playing with Old Glory DC last year. They've got Jeff Steele also training with them. Played a little prop. He was on Utah's books last year. He'd played with Houston before that, so there's another body we could put up there. But beyond that, this is what we've got right now. So definitely Chicago's going to need a couple more bodies if they expect to get through this full season. I mean, even putting together this match day 23, which we're going to do next, you're going to be like, well, I mean, there's nobody else, right? So that's going to be fun. So there you go. This is the Chicago Hounds squad as it stands heading into 2023. I do expect we're going to see a couple more players signed, but I don't know who they are yet. So here we go. Let's put together a match day squad. All right, who is Sam Harris going to pick in his match day squads this year? Well, of course, the first thing we got to know is how many imports are Chicago allowed in their 23. And their number is 8, and that is the lowest along with the Toronto Arrows in MLR. And it's going to make for one particularly interesting selection decision. So we'll get to that. The squad, as I kind of showed you a second ago, it kind of picks itself as far as who's going to play this season for Chicago. So George Thornton obviously coming in as your starting loose head prop. Hugh Roach, definitely, your starting hooker, you would think. Charlie Abel in here at tight head prop. Second row, well, you just brought in Duke Krishnan, so he's going to go there at second row. And Luke White, definitely your other starter there. So there's your tight five. Now, Luke Beecham was just named your vice captain, so we'll throw him at 6. McLean Jones, definitely your 7. And number 8, we're going to go with Michael Duvall. Again, for me, not ideal. I'd prefer to see him at flanker, but in this team, looks like he'll be the number 8. Now, scrum half and fly half, well, it's going to be your Eagles, Michael Baska and Luke Carty. And then we got Julian Dominguez definitely on the left wing. And then we got Bryce Campbell, our captain, here at inside center. Now let's just take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're already at 7 imports, so that leaves us 1 spot left. So we've got Billy Meeks and we've got Mark O'Keefe. And how do we fit them both in? Because, I mean, if they're all around, ideally the back line, you'd have to think is probably going to be Billy Meeks here at 13. Mark O'Keefe at 14. I mean, that's a pretty stacked back line. And then you got Chris Mattina most likely at 15. But the problem is we've got 1 too many imports here. So what are we going to do? We've got a problem here. Now, I will tell you, to start the season, Meeks is not going to be available immediately. He's going to be missing the first few weeks of the season. So that kind of solves that problem. You don't have to worry about that. He comes out. O'Keefe goes up there, and you might look at Caleb Strum maybe on the wing, or you could get creative, move Mattina there, play Elof at 15, something like that. Anyways, they'll make a little bit of adjustment, but then you don't have to worry about the import situation. However, once everybody is there and is fit, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't think you can leave out Meeks or O'Keefe, guys of that class. You can't leave out Dominguez. You can't leave out any of those tight guys because you just don't really have any replacements. So it's got to be one of these flankers. It'll be Beecham or Jones, and you'll have to pick one of them. I mean, Beecham is the vice captain, so maybe, put him in. Maybe it's McLean Jones who gets left out, or maybe it's Luke Beecham, but you're going to have to pick one of them. And then you got Mike Matarazzo coming in here at 6. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing you can do, right? And then, so our reserves, well, we got Lindsay Stevens. I mean, he's a Canadian international now, so he'll go there. I mean, you could drop Hugh Roach, I guess, and put Stevens at 2, and then put Mason Cook as a reserve hooker, but I don't know why you'd want to leave Roach out, but anyway, so there's the big dilemma. And so our reserve props, you'd have Lerome White and Paddy Ryan, and then our second row, Sam Perry, and our loose forward, Dakota Worth, and our scrum half, Sean Yakubian, who is more experienced than Sid Shoop, but Shoop is also there. And then you'd have JP Elof, I guess, here to cover, half the back line. And then Caleb Strum as your replacement winger. I mean, that's it. You don't really have a lot of flexibility. So, I mean, you're looking at this lineup. It's pretty good. I mean, this back line is awesome. Campbell and Meeks and O'Keefe and Dominguez and Mattina. And I mean, that's a great back line. No question about that. Forward pack also looks very competitive. This is not going to be a Dallas situation where the new side is coming in and losing every game of the season. Not a chance. This is a very good 15. But if you look at the bench here, you have to say less experienced than other contenders, certainly in that hyper-competitive West. When you look, we've looked at Houston, we've looked at Utah, we've looked at San Diego. We looked at Seattle. Those squads look complete. So I think, when people started to see, seeing O'Keefe and Meeks and, and Campbell getting picked, they got really excited. And Abel, such a great ball runner, has been so good for LA. Well, I think when they saw this team coming together in the starting side and they're trying to figure out, they got a little bit carried away and didn't think of the bigger picture, which is not just the match day 23, but the squad as a whole. And when you do look at the squad, and even just the match day 23 here, you start to see that they just don't quite have the depth to really be competing against the big dogs in the Western Conference. So I think people just got a little bit carried away there, this talk of Chicago potentially winning in their first season. Not going to happen. Let's just calm down and bring everybody back down to reality here. This is a good team. They're going to win some games. I don't really see them challenging for a playoff spot, if I'm being honest. I just don't see the depth. I mean, they've got to get some other players in, and they only have 8 import slots, so it's not like they can go out and buy a bunch of imports to fill those gaps either. They're going to have to pick up domestic players. I think they're going to have to grab some Canadian internationals because there's not a whole lot of American talent left. Pretty much most of them have been picked up. So I'm really interested to see who they do bring in. Paul Cellini, if I can give them a suggestion, is Kyle Bailey. Those 2 guys off the top of my head would really help fill out that forward pack and give them a little bit more versatility as far as selection. We'll see what they can do. Kainoa Lloyd is a winger they could maybe bring in. He played for San Diego last year, international. There you go. Your match day 23, not too bad. They do have this interesting selection dilemma. If everybody's fit, if there are no injuries, then they're going to have to decide probably between Jones and Beecham. I think that's the only thing they can do. You already start to see Sam Perry doesn't have a whole lot of experience. Dakota Worth doesn't have a whole lot of experience. Shawnee Kubian at MLR, I'm sure he'll be fine, but he's been coming back from injury. Caleb Strum has only played a couple games. He's reportedly looked very good in the preseason, so that's great. As a whole, I just don't see this squad really challenging for a playoff spot. Now, I'm thrilled that rugby is finally in Chicago, that professional rugby is finally there, and I think we'll be, excitedly watching this team for years to come, and this is certainly something to build on. They'll certainly have some big games, they'll have some upsets, they can play that spoiler role, but getting back to it, at the end of the day, the depth just isn't there to be, really competing for one of those top 3 spots. I just don't think when you compare them to those other 4 teams that I've already mentioned. I mean, I'm excited to see Muchena play this year. I don't know why he hasn't been elevated to a senior contract yet. I think they kind of need some bodies, right? And Mika Felix is another guy. I'm keen to see how he goes in MLR. Hasn't debuted yet. So, I mean, he's one of your props, hasn't played any MLR games, although he has played for the USA Falcons. But, so for me, this is about setting down roots, so to speak, in Chicago and getting established and building a fan base, playing exciting rugby. I mean, that backline is going to be stellar. That is one backline that can compete against San Diego for sure. That's going to be a great contest. But we'll see how the forwards do in that battle, and just you look at the kind of cavalry that San Diego can bring off the bench. It's a little bit different than what we're seeing here with Chicago. So there you go. I'm thrilled that Chicago has a team. Really looking forward to them. I mean, let's give them a little bit of cut them a little bit of slack here. They had a very short runway to put this together. Ideally, they would have come in 2024, I think, but here they are. They're standing up. They're filling up. They're being that number 12 team, so evening out the division. So credit to them. Credit to their owners for doing this all on short notice. And here we go. Professional rugby in Chicago. Can't wait to see it. Chicago Hounds, MLR 2023. Let me know what you think.